Hi, my name is Theodora F. Theodora I, the representative of Group 4 in Diplomatic and Consular Practices.
So yun po no, diplomacy by conference. Start po natin by discussing what is diplomacy. Diplomacy is commonly defined as a practice of conducting negotiations between representatives of states. Ibig sabihin po nun, meron mga kumbaga sa ibang, hindi po dito sa Pilipinas, sa ibang state na merong prime minister, yung prime minister nila, magne-negotiate sila kumbaga pa sa kung anong ikauunlad ng kanilang bansa dito sa bansang ito, magte-trade in something sila. Tas ganon, meron dito sa diplomacy is a method of political interaction at the international level. Yung international level nga po ito sa ibang bansa na yung nagpapalitan na sila ng mga hinaing ganyan, mga ganyan. Tapos international conferences are a format of doing diplomacy that has become more prominent over time. Ibig sabihin, mga bansa ay nakikipag-alyansa, nakikipag-negotiate, nagpo-form sila ng treaty na yung kumbaga nagiging magkakampi silang dalawa. Parang ganun po sa lahat po ng mga trading in industries. So yun po, the effectiveness of conference diplomacy is significant degree hinges on the professionalism of the conference secretariat. Ibig sabihin po, dumedepende po dun sa conference secretariat yung outcome po ng magiging conference nila, yung kanilang mga pag-uusap. Yun po. So, diplomacy by conference, international conferences are held to discuss joint interest. Tapos, foreign offices and consulars has helped the structure of diplomacy more federal. It involves periodic meetings of regional and international organizations and has had many positive results like signing of various disagreements and also related to sustainable development and environmental issues.
What is economic diplomacy? Economic diplomacy is traditionally defined as the decision-making, policy-making, and advocating for descending states' business interests. So, the scope of economic diplomacy can encompass all of the main international economic activities of a state, including but not limited to policy decisions designed to influence exports, imports, investments, lending, aid, free trade agreements, etc. So, under the economic diplomacy, we have the carrot or stick theory. The phrase carrot and stick is a metaphor for the use of a combination of reward and punishment to induce a desired behavior. The carrot in this context could be the promise of economic or diplomatic aid between nations, while the stick might be the threat of military action. So, one of the examples of carrot or stick theory is the economic sanctions against Cuba. Under it is the United States embargo against Cuba prevents American businesses and businesses with commercial activities in the United States from conducting trade with Cuban interests. It is the most enduring trade embargo in modern history. Another example is the ASEAN boycott of Myanmar, where Rohingya activists and their international supporters have welcomed and endorsed the UN panel's call for the withdrawal of financial and other supports to Myanmar and fair trial of its military commanders on charges of war crime and genocide.
Nuclear diplomacy. What is nuclear diplomacy? Nuclear diplomacy deals with the prevention of nuclear war and peacetime proliferation. It also deals with the use of threat of nuclear warfare to achieve diplomatic goals. Many countries signed a pact for not being the first to attack with nuclear weapon during war. It is called the Treaty on Not to Use. Countries pledging no first use are China, India, and North Korea, meaning that they are not to be first to use nuclear weapons at any time or under any circumstances. Countries pledging to use nuclear weapons in a defensive way are Russia, United Kingdom, United States, Pakistan, and Israel, meaning that they will use nuclear weapons, either nuclear or non-nuclear states, only in a case of invasion or other attack against their territory, even though it is one of their allies. In the modern day scenario, with the rising numbers of nuclear powers, it amounts to exerting influence through the United Nations Security Council and International Atomic Energy Agency. One of the modern facets of modern day nuclear diplomacy is nuclear trade and prevention of nuclear proliferation. Many countries want to go to nuclear in order to exert regional influence. One of the recent examples of nuclear diplomacy related to trade is India and US nuclear agreement.